Episode 8 of Severance took everything we thought we knew about Harmony Cobell and turned it right on its head. It was obvious from the very opening credits of this episode that this was not going to be like some of the others. Like episode 4, this episode did not feature that typical opening credits with the really epic song. We just get the title and we are thrust right in to this episode that really changes so much about how we understand Severance, how we understand Cobell, and just Lumen in general. Let's discuss episode 8 of Severance. I want to start right out by saying that this episode featured some truly beautiful cinematography. It is just a well-directed episode, and the musical score in this episode also felt like a cut above the others. Yeah, I'm someone that pays a lot of attention to the musical score. The musical score in anything really helps to paint the picture, it helps to tell the story, and I really enjoyed this week's score. And as fun as it is to be at Lumen in those crazy white halls surrounded by all that blank nonsense, it was really awesome to get to leave the confines of Lumen yet again. For the life of me, I still cannot tell where this show is taking place, and honestly, before this episode, I thought that this show was taking place in the past, because when Harmony's cell phone first started ringing, I was really confused. I was like, wait a minute, I thought this show takes place in the past. Look at everyone's cars, look at all the technology, everything looks super ancient, and now here's this cell phone. Then I quickly remembered last week's episode, we also saw a cell phone, so yeah, what time period is this? In this episode, we follow Cobell as she attempts to retrieve something of great importance from the home that she grew up in. It starts out with her entering a diner in a very dramatic fashion. She opens the door, there's gusty wind, people are stopping, they look at her, they're like, hey, who's this lady? You know, you got that vibe. It kind of had like that Western town vibe and the stranger that just rolled in. And she's greeted by a former coworker who you can tell isn't necessarily so thrilled to see her. As a matter of fact, nobody in that diner looked super thrilled to see her. I'm guessing that Harmony, the sight of her at least, brings back bad memories, because it's quite clear that this town has been through some shit. So she ends up asking this guy, I guess former friend named Hampton, to bring her to her old home where a woman named Sissy is currently residing. And I'm not really sure exactly who Sissy is to Cobell. Obviously she does have the same last name, and it does seem like people in this town don't think too highly of Sissy either. But why does she need a ride from this guy to go visit this house? Well, it's because she thinks that people are on the lookout for her, particularly Lumen. She thinks Lumen is looking for her, and she's like, hey, if I get in your truck and you take me there, I can sneak by undetected. And it is worth noting that the place where she meets up with Hampton after the diner, where she asks him this favor, is in front of an old factory with that familiar Lumen logo. However, this place looks run down and clearly abandoned, much like most of this unfortunate town. I think it's quite possible that this town is ground zero for everything that we know about Lumen. I grew up in a small town, and I can say that the place in this episode felt so familiar to me. That feeling of a town that once had a big job and now it doesn't, and you can see the results of that layoff on everybody around it. It probably killed most of this town when that company shut its doors. It's unclear exactly why Sissy and Harmony have such a rocky relationship. It seems to me like maybe Sissy moved in because Harmony's mom was sick, and so she stepped in to help raise her, take care of the mom. But clearly Sissy is one of those heavily religious people. You can really get that vibe from her, and although the Kiers are not really a religion, people do seem like they treat it like a religion in this series. So I'm guessing she was always like egan this, egan that during Harmony's whole childhood. You know, who wants to live with that shit? The bulk of this episode, we are seeing Harmony Cobell come to terms with her past and working on securing her future. I've said in multiple videos now that I was pretty sure Harmony was still working for Lumen, but this episode really basically proved me wrong. Not only is she not working at Lumen right now, but it seems like she's actually planning on screwing them over. And it turns out she actually has a smoking gun that is going to turn the head on Lumen and Severance. Because as she rummages through her old possessions, she ends up finding a notebook filled with notes that she had probably come up with back when she was a kid. We find out in this episode that she is a very intelligent person, and the Egans saw that intelligence and gave her an internship or a scholarship or something at Lumen. And I would bet it's this notebook and the contents of this notebook that got her the attention of Lumen, and why she got the job, and why she ended up eventually running the severed floor. So what is in this notebook? It seems like it has the plans for everything that we know about Severance, and it seems like it all was really Harmony's idea. She's got the Glasgow block in there, she's got the chips, you can see different schematics, you can see different drawings. It's clear that she, for some reason, as a younger person, came up with this crazy idea, and Lumen really loved it. And they told her, hey, we like your ideas, please come work for us, but you're not allowed to tell anybody that this was your idea, because if you want to follow in the path of Kier, you're gonna keep your mouth shut. That doesn't sound too different from most corporations in this country. But it does offer a whole wealth of new questions, because Harmony clearly hates Lumen, and yet she's been working for them for most of her life. So why? Why is she dedicating her life to a company that stole all her brilliant ideas? I think that she is probably trying to stay close to Lumen because she still has a curiosity. She clearly is a person of science, and she wants to see the fruits of her labor. But the big question is, has she actually been planning on getting even with Lumen the entire time? Maybe she stayed at Lumen to work her way deeper and deeper into the company so that she could eventually screw them over. It's for sure possible. This woman is a woman of spite, and now I actually kind of agree with some of that. But I still don't know why she is obsessed with Mark. That doesn't really feel like it's been clarified quite yet. I understand why she's interested in these chips and why she wants to know how well this severance procedure is working, but why Mark particularly, that's still just way up in the air. What is clear is that Lumen might be aware of Harmony's intent to get even, and that's why they are watching this house so closely. The sissy woman does reveal that that big burly man did call and ask some questions. We don't know exactly what he told her and what he asked, but that's worth noting. They are clearly keeping tabs on Harmony. So now I am starting to think that if Harmony had in fact gotten into that car with Helena, she probably was going to get killed, because a huge mega corporation like Lumen, they don't want someone out there being able to say that their ideas actually belong to someone else. So shocker, I was wrong. I don't think she's still an employee. I think that opening shot of her looking down in the book, well, that book clearly is representing this notebook. At the end of this episode, Mark's sister Devin, who has been blowing up Harmony's modern cell phone the entire episode, finally gets Cobell to answer the phone. She tells her that Mark is reintegrated. Harmony is like, what the hell? Put Mark on the phone right now. So yeah, this was a big episode, a total game changer. Was it the most entertaining episode? No, I don't think so. It's kind of slow paced, it moves a little bit lethargically, but that doesn't mean that it's not an extremely important episode, because clearly it was. We learned some very big stuff about Severance. We got a lot of really good backstory about Harmony and just finding out what she actually might be really up to. So don't knock this episode just because it's slower. You got a ton of really good stuff presented to you. And again, I want to say this episode was beautifully filmed and directed by Ben Stiller, by the way. There are some shots in this episode that would make some really good screensavers. So put your thoughts on this episode, put your theories, anything you're coming up with in the comments and let me know. And if you like this video, hit the like button so that I know you liked it. Do you want to hear more things from me? Then subscribe to this channel. Later.